ladies and gents. How the devil? It's Sunday, February 28th, and it's your favourite time of the weekend. You know it's true. It's the BBC Spews. What have we got for you this week? Well, let me tell you, the soybeam is strong on the BBC website this week. It's like a tractor beam, but when it pulls you in to its unearthly reach, you find you have a strange desire to wear leather pants and hang around the docks where all of the other seafaring gentlemen might be. It's shocking this week. I'll start with this relatively serious one before we get into some of the fucking just toxic identity politics, irrelevant LGBT nonsense. Like, seriously, if a bloke drives a Formula 1 car round and round a track very, very fast for a living, why do I need to know that he has to spit the sailors' cocks out before he sits down for his dinner? I don't care. I don't care. Again, call it what you want. Illiberal. I don't care. I don't care. What a perfect stranger gets up to in his own bedroom has got absolutely nothing to do with me. I have no interest, no opinion. I quite like Tom Cruise. I think he's a good actor for a dwarf. I wouldn't stop watching his films if it turned out that he liked lowering himself onto a vase whilst watching Brokeback Mountain. It's irrelevant. But here we are. If you don't notice and obsess over section, gender and sexuality and race and skin colour and all of these trivial things, apparently you're a fucking Nazi. So I wouldn't want to be accused of that, would I? I wouldn't want to be accused of that. So let's talk about it endlessly, like a good old progressive liberal lefty. You know me. Tolerance is my middle name. Angry Tolerance Elizabeth Hitler Bootneck. Bonus points to anyone who gets that reference. Let's get started, shall we? First things first, I'm not going to bring up the canny set of threepenny bits here. You know, if I was worried about men objectifying me, I don't think I'd get my canny threepenny bits out for all the boys to see. I think I'd dress like I was off to a funeral, like the girl on the left. But hey, you do you. Let's see this, shall we? The story is rape social media posts. How speaking out got twin sisters sued. You know what that headline should say? That headline should say, when women feel very, very strongly about something, evidence, logic, reason, and the law, the rule of law itself, should be ditched out the fucking window. Yeah? Just toss it aside like a used parking ticket because we feel something. Just listen to this. Don't worry, we won't sit through the whole thing.
You'd already taken so much from us when you assaulted us, like that violation, the ultimate betrayal.
For him to then come back and sue us, it was mind-blowing.
That's twin sisters, Verity and Lucy. The story they're about to tell you is about a man they knew, a man they accused of sexual assault, a man who took them to court to keep those allegations a secret.
When I woke up, I remembered him raping me.
Just use the, just be aware of the language there. To keep those allegations secret. Not to keep the fact that he was a dirty rapist secret. Just allegations.
During the course of that morning, he repeatedly assaulted me.
He'd sexually assaulted me, and my way of dealing with that was to leave, but I never ever thought he would do that to Lucy. If I'd ever have thought that, I wouldn't have left, and maybe it wouldn't have happened. And that guilt became a lot. I attempted suicide over it.
Verity and Lucy's cases were dropped by the police. They then posted their allegations on social media.
There you go. So, and by the way, as an aside, I know that in this day and age, common sense and logic, it's gone out the window. You've just got to believe all women, no matter what they say, even though women are just as good at lying as men. In fact, they're better, aren't they? I remember that scene from True Romance. Apparently, women are slightly better at lying than men. Also makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, doesn't it? Because men are more physically capable. So maybe while we were out stabbing the woolly mammoth to death with a sharp stick, maybe the women were more Machiavellian about things. Seems logical to me. But just as an aside, the one on the left who's dressed like she's off to a funeral, she seems sincere and like she's tearing up quite easily. The one on the right doesn't. And she's dressed like she's off on a night on the piss in Aberystwyth. So make up your own mind. Unlike communists, I think you're allowed to follow the evidence. Would I be mean to her in public? Or tell her that I didn't believe her if I was a fucking police officer? Of course not. Respect anyone who might have gone through a trauma, treat them tenderly and compassionately, and then look for evidence of a crime. And if you don't find evidence of a crime, guess what? You don't fucking lock people up without any evidence. Again, call me neo-Nazi if you like, call me Benito Mussolini. I don't think people should go to prison unless there's clear charges and clear evidence, yeah? AOC thinks you should go in the salt mines for disagreeing with people because she's liberal. But me, evidence and reason, I'm the arsehole. Doesn't take much thought to figure out how that could go wrong for you in future if said salt mine happy, sheep-toothed communist was in charge, does it?
Naming their alleged abuser.
When that police investigation ends, the trauma doesn't. We were just searching for justice and like trying any which way to sort of get it.
It's kind of like, what are our options at this point?
And the only way to warn others and to, get some sort of like therapeutic thing from it is to post online. We lost friends who like didn't believe us.
They weren't criticising the person who raped me, but they were saying, okay, me speaking out about it isn't okay.
She honestly looks like she's going to laugh at her. Like, I don't believe the one on the right at all. Anyway, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. To go on Facebook and just start calling someone when there's no evidence and the police have told you there's no evidence and nobody's being charged for a crime, that is slander. In the world they inhabit, anyone watching this video could say, oh yeah, the Angry Bootneck turned up round my house the other day and fucking bounced on my shit locker and just vanished into the night like fucking Zorro, little fat hairy Zorro. Don't want to sell Antonio Banderas short, do I? It's not on. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to criticise women or have a go at them. But the law is black and white for a reason. And the idea that anyone on a whim can just go on fucking in what is now the public square and just jab your finger at people, he's a rapist, he's a nonce, he's a pedo, he's a fucking... You can't do it. There's no evidence for it and you haven't been charged with a crime. You can't do it. And this 5-minute fucking monologue by the BBC is just what you'd expect from the woke left, right? If it was two blokes saying, oh yeah, some wanton lying yo-yo knicker Jezebel has told lies about us, so we went and called her a slag on Facebook, you best believe the BBC will be taking her side. Because the BBC are communists and they're obsessed with identity politics. I mean, just think of it for a moment without even listening to me ranting. Is this justice? Is this justice? If whether or not you're entitled to protection under the law and equal treatment under the law and to be believed is not dependent on evidence or reason or facts, but is entirely dependent on your sex or your gender or your colour, is that logical? The BBC are completely indistinguishable from the full-blown racial fucking zealots in Jim Crow America who didn't think black people should have protection under the law. The BBC are doing that now. And if you're on the intersectionality victim pyramid, you get protection under the law. But if you are a fucking pasty, straight, arsehole man, fuck you. Guilty as charged, slander you with no evidence, ruin your life with no evidence, do whatever we like because you don't matter. And these people have the brass neck to call me illiberal. It is unbelievable. YouTube, Facebook, Google, they're all the same. They're all the same. Just seriously, just spend 5 minutes watching what I've just talked about and tell me I'm the bad guy because I don't get it. I don't get it. Every pot has to call every fucking kettle in the cosmos black to make the BBC the good guys in this day and age. They are beyond contempt. So anyway, I won't subject you to any more of that shit. Just know the witch trials are still going on. But now the witches have got cocks, which is sort of ironic because that's sort of relevant to the world we're living in now, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. Gwyneth fucking Paltrow. If you aren't aware, if you've been going around for the last 20 fucking years with your head firmly up your arse, you may not be aware that Gwyneth Paltrow has got the intellectual capacity of a house brick, but she does. She does. I guess looking pretty means you don't have to exercise your brain cells very often, does it? NHS boss urges caution over star's long COVID regime. It says a A senior NHS leader has reminded influential stars like Gwyneth Paltrow of their duty of responsibility when talking about COVID treatments. Paltrow recently wrote on her blog that contracting COVID-19 had left her with some long-tail fatigue and brain fog. Long-tail fatigue? Does she mean long-term? Don't even know what that means. She said a functional medicine practitioner had recommended an intuitive fasting healing regime. A functional medicine practitioner? Well, a fucking witch doctor's a functional medicine practitioner, isn't he? If you see a gypsy in the street and she says, oh, if you rub some heather on it, that'll fix it, she's a functional medicine practitioner. Clearly she's not talking about a doctor, right? Or a surgeon. Or else she wouldn't have used the term functional medicine practitioner. So go and get some fucking voodoo magic, and you've basically got someone, yeah? What's the guy called? Baron Zamedy from James Bond. Go and get Baron Zamedy to fucking recommend an intuitive fasting regime. Jesus wept. NHS England's Prof Stephen Powes said that some of her methods were really not the solutions we'd recommend, yeah, because we're professors and doctors. As part of her recovery, the lifestyle guru said she was on a mainly ketogenic and plant-based diet with no sugar or alcohol, and she fasts until 11 every day and takes infrared saunas. Jesus fucking Christ. The boys at Dieppe and St Nazaire, they didn't have infrared saunas, did they? I'm sure they weren't on a ketogenic plant-based diet, basking in infrared lasers before they stabbed an SS stormtrooper in the face. I don't think I need it. I think I can get by, thanks. Prof Powers, who is a National Medical Director for the NHS England, said serious science should be applied. Yes, it should. Like the virus, misinformation carries across borders and it mutates and evolves. I think YouTube and other social media platforms have a real responsibility and opportunity here. YouTube responsible? Well, my screed about how we shouldn't judge people by their immutable characteristics and we should judge people based off evidence, that may well get me thrown off the platform. So I think it's safe to say that when it comes to responsibility, YouTube is about as responsible as an alcoholic, kleptomaniac, wayward father with a gambling addiction. Responsibility, that's not in YouTube's dictionary. In the last few days, she's unfortunately suffering from the effects of COVID. Is he on about the fact that it's done something to her brain and she's gone completely tonto, yeah? She's clearly got long COVID because she's off her tits. Everything she says makes no sense, she's rambling. If it gets any worse, we'll have to put her in charge of a sizable borough in London, for example. Maybe get her to do that. Anyway, so she's on the road to healing. Well done, Gwyneth, you absolute knobhead. Still, she's a classy bird. You could use her pubes for dental floss. Doesn't mean she's got much upstairs though, does it? Here's quite a serious one, right? COVID, mother in coma should be allowed to die. It is serious, and I'm not trying to make light of a family that are suffering in this way. But there's two real political issues that I want to bring this up for, right? First of all, the mother who's been seriously ill, she's in her 30s, she's been in induced coma since giving birth to a baby boy last month, and they've said basically she's completely toast. Her organs have failed, her lungs have given out. She's basically a vegetable being kept alive by machinery. The family are devout, asked for more time for treatment and said they believed only God could end life. If she's in a hospital, if we all just lived on the savannah and when you got ill, we left you under a tree for a few weeks, that would be a valid argument. But when she's already being seen by specialist medicine people, not fucking witch doctors or voodoo magic fuckers, but actual doctors, right, and surgeons, what's it got to do with God? God didn't go to medical school. If some professor with letters after his name is treating your mother, that's not God anymore. That's the professor. If she's on a fucking life glug, yeah, that's not God. Any surgical or technological interference from man means that it's out of God's hands. So this whole screed they're coming out with is total bollocks. It's sad that she's dying, but the taxpayers, as usual, are on the hook because of people's insane beliefs. If you want to fucking pay the wages of everyone looking after her and pay the electricity bill for the life glug, you crack on. But I don't feel like we should be penalised because you are too cowardly to accept the inevitable, that the poor bastard's already dead, and then justify it by some insane claim that only God can end life when she's already dead, and if it wasn't for the efforts of 20 full-time medical practitioners and a shit ton of machinery, she'd already have passed on. So it just annoys me with the UK being the way it is. And the second political point I was going to make was Leicester NHS, woman in her 30s who had loads of birth defects. I instantly thought she was from a particular community that are famous for inbreeding. Baroness Varsi did a big moratorium all about this. You can't find Hiding the Hair of it on the BBC anymore, but it was a big deal. She wrote all about it. And the numbers were staggering about inbreeding and genetic deformities in one particular community. Again, I can't say the word. It's impossible. Look. See, it doesn't even work. It's like YouTube know what's going to happen. So, one particular group are susceptible. So it's linked to that. I'm convinced. It says the woman had Addison's disease, a rare disorder. Yeah. When God's written our death, that's when we will die. Well, he did that ages ago. He's already wrote it, took it to the post office, stamped the fucker, and sent it off first class. It's well gone. It is well gone. And the son who was delivered by C-section, that doesn't count. God doesn't do C-sections. God doesn't levitate down from a cloud and go, huzzah, and chop the children out. That's us, that. That's those highly trained medical professionals in the fucking hospital using their highly configured electronic devices and machinery that we didn't find under a rock. Right? So you're just picking and choosing to take the piss. Suck it up, deal with the worst. Oh yeah, and while you're at it, tell all your mates, probably not a good idea to marry your relatives, because that's what causes things like this to happen. Right? Final point, she had loads of pre-existing conditions, so COVID didn't kill her. Good? Good. LGBT History Month. Mike Butler, this is somewhat more upbeat, right? He was a bloke who drove a car, and he's gay. Let's write a headline about it. Who cares? It says Mike Butler raced many of the all-time Formula 1 greats and then disappeared. So he didn't even win any. I noticed didn't say beat many of the Formula 1 greats. Are we being homophobic, or was he just a bit of a shit driver? Anyone mention that? Did he start driving buses when he left and wrapped a few around a fucking couple of trees and they went, fuck me, you're the shittest bus driver ever? No wonder nobody liked you when you were doing F1. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's got nothing at all to do with his sexuality. I don't care, do you? No, I don't think anyone does. We don't care what you do. No one has ever buggered anyone senseless on the racetrack. I've watched F1 with my dad every Saturday when I was a kid. Never once did I sit down, Desmond Lynam came on and goes, the Formula 1's on, boys. If we cut to the track quickly, we can see Nigel Mansell fisting Alan Prost. Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Nobody cares. Sex has got even less to do with Formula 1 than, like, football. At least on football, like, they jog around, you might be able to check their arse out or something. Formula 1, you can't even see the fuckers. You just look at the cars. It is 0% sex. So, what are you telling me for? What are you telling me for? Oh, yeah, he had AIDS. He was mega gay. Mike gave it everything on track. He wasn't a natural talent, but he worked hard. Fuck me. So he wasn't any good. Right? In fact, let's just stop, shall we? I didn't know that when I first started reading it. So, he was absolutely shit, and he couldn't fucking win. But apparently, now we have to talk about him, because he happened to have been gay. Even though it's completely irrelevant, has nothing at all to do with sport. Why is this in the sports section? Formula 1, sport, bloke sucks or the bloke's off. I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody interested in Formula 1 cares. You're interested in cars and engineering and speeds and times and technique. You're not interested in gobbling. Gobbling's not on the list. So what we doing? What we doing? Tell me something interesting, BBC. Stop boring me with fucking drivel, telling me about the shittest driver ever just because he happened to have been gay. I don't care that he was gay. I don't like straight drivers that are totally fucking useless either. Right? Right, let's move on. I'm already sick. Gah. Can't get away from it. Why are there so few BAME players in English women's football? Because women don't like football as much. What the fuck? Why? Why do you have to ask me these questions? On Tuesday, England... Oh yeah, this was just before England beat Northern Ireland. Notably, however, Demi Stokes is injured. Nikita Parris is unable to travel. There will only be one non-white player in the squad. See what I'm talking about? So they literally count them. Like, count them. When I was a kid, we got told, don't worry about these things. I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air all the time when I was a young lad. Cosby Show. I used to watch Red Dwarf. Still one of my favourite shows. 2 out of the 3 weren't white dudes in the cast. We didn't even think about it. I only really noticed that as I've grown up. And the BBC kept going on about it, and I thought, BBC, oh yeah, Red Dwarf. And then I thought, holy shit, didn't even think. Maybe I really am colourblind. I am the master. Allow me to show you the way, the tolerance way. But these fuckers, count them. Like they're running out the tunnel and he's like, ooh, better keep my eyes peeled for a few darkies. Doesn't sound very tolerant to me. Unbelievable. Count them. Like I've seen it on the BBC when they have a children's TV programme and there's like 3 of them. And you look and it's always like one's black, one's Asian, one's white. It's like, are you fucking counting them? You're not doing this by accident. Bring another Chinese in. Well, that's not tolerant. You're obsessed with what people are. You're not tolerant. You're a fascist. Just like when you don't care about evidence and it comes to locking people up without any, right? You know what you are, BBC. You are the bad guys. You are the fascists. I don't count the brown people when I do anything. You do. Ask yourself who's the villain. It says, compared with the men's game, the pool of BAME players to choose from is smaller. Yeah, well, we don't count. We don't count. While women's football has grown exponentially, the number of black and mixed race players has decreased. Wow, wow, wow. There's something like 500 players in the Premier League and a third of them are black. So they're massively, massively overrepresented in one of the best jobs you can possibly have. Yeah, interesting. Proportion of BAME in the Women's Super League is lower, between 10 to 15%. So again, in line, mathematically perfect percentages of what the UK is proportionally BAME, right? Right? Is this sinking in? It's not inclusive enough because it's a good job and they are statistically about where they are in the population. Is that what you're saying now? So when is it going to be inclusive enough? 40, 50, 60, 70? Should we just let's just ban anyone who isn't BAME from playing football and then we'll be tolerant. And you could be the best player in the world. Sorry, son, you're not the right colour. You're not allowed to play. I mean, listen to yourselves. Listen to yourselves. I have a hypothesis straight off the bat. I have a hypothesis for everything. But this rings true, right? In my life, I've found that black women in the United States especially all work a lot. They work a lot. They work hard to try to provide for the kids. Black men, probably because the men and we men are a proud bunch, are not as willing to do menial labour. That's not even colour-based, that's probably all men. We're a lot more proud than women. The black unemployment statistics in London are off the charts, like they are stupidly high. But nobody really thinks that you can't get a job just because you've got a tan in London, because you're in the majority. It's because they want the high status jobs. If you've got a chip on your shoulder and you're a very proud man and you don't want to be seen to be debasing yourself, a lot of men they want a good job. They'll be a singer or an actor or a footballer, but they're not willing to clean toilets. Women aren't as desperate to get into high status roles. Men might be more like, I'll be a footballer or I'll go on the dole. Women are more like, I'll do whatever needs to pay the bills. Maybe I'm slagging men off here, I don't know. But that is a solid hypothesis to me why women aren't as interested. Also, women are not as interested in sports as men are. It's a physical thing. Women are not as interested in football as men are. Young women make different choices to young men. We know for a fact there is no barrier in entering football in race in the UK because they are at 10 to 15%, which is exactly the percentage you would expect. And with men, it is unbelievable. They make up a third of the league. Even though they're about, black men in the UK, what are they, fucking 4% of the population? So it's anything but racist. It's the exact opposite. Women make their own choices because they're in a free and fair country. And if they don't want to fucking play football as much, and they make up about 10 to 15% of the game, then nothing is broken because they make up 10 to 15% of the country. Done. Someone please tell me, if I've got that backwards and I've done the maths wrong, please tell me where I'm going wrong. But if that percentage is who's playing the game, I fail to see the issue, right? The BBC are just doing what they do, race baiting, spiteful, hateful, communist bastards that they are. And they won't be happy till all of the fucking women, till what? The women's England team is 50% fucking BAME? Well, yeah, but they only make up a small percentage of the country, so why do they have to be 50 or 60 or 70%? Doesn't make sense. What you're basically saying is all the best jobs have to go to people that aren't white because we hate them, right? Same as the women. They complain about not being Facebook executives. Ooh, there's not enough women actors. There's not enough women singers. There's not enough women CEOs. They never say there's not enough women bin man. Yeah? I want to see a bird carrying my fucking bin down the lane. Nobody says that. Nobody cares. I want to see the women crawling around picking up shit in the sewers of London. Yeah? Chiseling away at the giant fat iceberg with johnnies and fucking tampons stuck to it. Get her down there. I want to see more female representation. Doesn't happen. It is transparently obvious what's going on. Race baiting, communist bullshit that nobody believes, and the only person who does think this is a valid thing to talk about can't do basic mathematics that a child can fucking do. Right? Right. Anyway, that's made me angry. Let's finish on something cheerful. Things you'll know if you're a wrestler.
I love wearing tight clothes. I just show off my body. Like, why wouldn't I wear tight clothes? I work hard for this.
Things you're not.
Yeah, mate, but you've got a face like a slapped ass. So lap it up with your pecs and put a fucking balaclava on, you rat bastard.
Things you will know.
Things you'll know.
If you're a Muslim wrestler.
They've seen the Olympic wrestling mat and it says, what's this?
Where's the ring?
Where's the ring? Where's the chairs?
Whereas like professional wrestling is more of an entertainment platform. It's more designed in order to get people's emotions, tell them stories through your body, through your character.
Where we come out to the ring, we put on a big performance, you know, we're in spandex, we're in tights, we're out there, we're body slamming people, that type of wrestling.
Growing up watching pro wrestling, you didn't really see people like me.
My first competition, I was probably the only Muslim woman there.
If someone hasn't done it before you, go and be the first.
Now you got mothers there selling samosa and with their stalls and their kids and holding banners for their kids. And
well, that's good. I'm glad that England is, just as we've all suspected, very tolerant and easygoing. I just wish the BBC wasn't peddling reckless hate 365 days a year. Yeah? It is toxic, it's poisonous. Carry on, support whoever it is on Twitter who's doing the defund the BBC movement. While you're at it, support the Angry Bootneck, because I'll keep taking the piss out of them. But the BBC needs to be destroyed. If I can see it reduced to rubble before I breathe my last, I will fucking rejoice. Thanks for watching. As always, you have been watching the BBC Spews. I am, and will ever be so, a very, very angry bootneck, and I'll see you all very soon. Cheers.